So at the moment, I'm being hacked. I think it's the BBC or people to do with the BBC, and it's pretty much been happening the whole time probably since before my campaign started. I would have thought probably right back to. I would have thought it's been happening at some level all the way back as far as Jeremy Vine with Freeman and Co. appearing mysteriously on there and telling us about the illegal road signs, although that was way, way, way back before I even got involved in doing the campaign or anything like that. But there were strange things happening with the BBC while I was doing competition on the internet and things like that. So I know that it's the BBC who were heavily involved in it. So now they're doing it even more. All my orders that I'm making online are going wrong. Someone's even hacking some on my computer or changing it on my computer. And then another time they'll change the order or hack it at the other side. So like it'll seem like that it's the seller who's done it. But many times like the seller will tell me that their equipment has gone wrong. Like, you know, their machine's cutting something out and then it won't do it at the right millimeter or whatever. So they're hacking it either at my side or at the other side, and I don't know who it's going to be. And then if they hack it at the seller's fault and then change the details on the computer at the seller's end, then I can blame the seller and I can get the seller to do the job again to correct it, because then it appears like it's the seller's fault. And the seller doesn't know that they're being hacked. They just think that it's a normal mistake, but it's not a normal mistake. And I can usually get it done again. But if it happens so many times, what they do is they keep doing it. And then the seller gets annoyed that I'm saying that it's wrong. And then they won't want to do business with me, and then they'll fall out with me. So now, if they decide to hack it at my side, like switch the file on my computer so it looks like I sent the wrong file, or if they spoil the image by messing the pixels up or changing it, then I can't say to the seller that I've been hacked, because they won't believe me. And even if you know, it's not my, it looks like it's my fault, but it's not. I can't claim then, because the mistake appears like it's on my side. If they decide not to hack me and decide to instead spoil the order by hacking the seller, then the seller takes blame, because it looks at least like it was a seller whose fault it is, but he won't know. He'll just think that he made a mistake when he didn't, because he can't really remember properly and he doesn't realise that it's happening. Or they can just hack the communications and pretend to be the seller. So I might not even be talking to the seller, and then it just might be a wind-up. And, you know, they're posing as the seller and, you know, intervening in the message. So it depends how they want to do it, but they can do it of multiple ways. Now, who's doing this? We don't know for sure, but unfortunately, it's a little bit like the closest thing I can describe it to is like on Star Wars. You know when Luke Skywalker goes to is it called Endor? You know, where basically, you know, the planet that Yoda lives on, when he was retreated to that planet, that swamp planet, and then, you know, Yoda's like doing the training thing with Luke Skywalker, and then he sets the bad guy on him, Darth Vader. It's pretty much like that kind of thing, or it's got that feeling to it. You know, when Luke goes into that cave and then he gets a bad feeling, and then there's like Darth Vader model comes out, but it's not actually Darth Vader, it's like a copy of Darth Vader, but Yoda sends the copy of Darth Vader to test him, sort of thing. It feels like that. And I've seen this before with Sarah Cox on the BBC. They put them through these initiation periods. All these celebrities and these famous people, when they work for the BBC, they groom them and they train them by putting them through these trial. Well, it's called a trial or an ordeal. And, you know, in history, They talk about, priests having to do an ordeal or whatever. I think Robert F. Kennedy said it recently, when they wrote the First Amendment, like sink or swim. It's like a sink or swim thing. Basically, they throw you in the water, and if you drown, you die, and if you don't, you survive, right? It's a really horrible and nasty way to train people. They will say that, I don't think it's training. This is the thing. It's basically like the dark arts. It's very nasty and horrible. And whoever got these people into this cult, is evil. Now, whoever's behind, you're not going to find out who it is because it's impossible to locate them. I mean, they're the people who've put this up now. They've even popped this up, this start screen thing on the screen. They've arranged for this advert to pop up on the screen here. They've arranged for it to appear. It's not that guy there who's done it, and it's not his manager, and it's not someone else. It's the people behind orchestrating it. I mean, Tucker Carlson now is saying that, he's been hacked by the media and they hacked into his phone and found out things that no one else could possibly know. So all of the media are basically hacking us all now, and they know everything that we're doing. I mean, even on Doctor Who recently, they sent the message out to us through the programme, and this is not fantasy, this is not pretend, because that programme has been featuring all the themes of the things that are happening now that we're dealing with all the protests, with all the Stop ULEZ, with all the Extinction Rebellion, with all the other issues, and they clearly said, essentially, they said through the script in the programme, but, so it's clearly, obviously, they're making the public aware that, we've got all the photographs on your phone. We know everything that's on your phone. So, I mean, that is a game changer for life. When these people are boasting that, we got all your photos. We know everything that's on your phone and everything that you're saying and doing at every time. So that's basically Rupert Murdoch, but also the BBC as well. I'm not saying the BBC are Rupert Murdoch because they've all got their own departments and their own institutions. But, for them to do this to us, but we don't have the ability to do it to them. It's literally like, they've got the scene in Doctor Who with that as well. They've got the old army facing the Santarans. We've got all the modern lasers and weapons, and there is no battle. It's no fair fight. It's no fair conflict. It's just a massacre, it's and also it's intimidating and a wind up, and also, the motivations behind it. I mean, that Murdering Successful program. I mean, that series was a wind up the whole way through. Whether it's the people who produced it or whether the actors or the guests. They got, O'Leary on there, he's a celebrity presenter, and he's, winding us all up about everything, so Scott Mills, all these people like pranks and jokes, joke crank phone calls and deck tricks, the rest of it. Now, the problem is, they are... In a way, it's almost like some sort of good, the bad and the ugly standoff, because you've got them, the celebrities. I would put, the BBC, Panorama, Scott Mills, Murdering Successful, all these celebrities who've got all the money, and then they've got their media contacts and their regime in place, Ant and Dec stunts and so forth, Top Gear, the rest of it. And then you've got the corrupt police and government and military who have been tricking us on the roads with the illegal road signage, intervening so we can't do anything about it when we lawfully try to stop them, rigging, the elections, rigging the petitions on the councils, the whole objection process on the councils, prosecuting us illegally through the magistrates' courts. This is Keir Starmer. There's the Keir Starmer Labour Party Tory union that pretends to be in opposition to each other, but they're, opposed when they, touch hands and push against each other, almost like a blood pact. And then you've got the BBC, who are almost like the devil's advocate. They know it's going on. They're kind of linked into it, but then they are spying on us, taking the mick out of us, joking against us, spying on us, and they aren't really helping us. They're actually causing harm to us. They're actually hindering us. And this hindering part comes in, it's almost like the point of contact with the Jeremy Beadle stunt, the Ant and Dec joke, the even their own staff. I mean, this is what this is like Matt Radcliffe. Matt Radcliffe is born and bred BBC groomed. If anyone comes into his studio and messes around, he kicks them straight out. He's been trained to break people and not bend. These people don't bend because they've been stiffened up. They've been put through this dark arts training where they don't take any nonsense. They don't take any shit from anyone because they've been put through this not blackmail, this blacksmith process of hardening where the aggregator messes with them, dicks with them, touches their todger, so like, Jimmy Savile touches their todger, plays with them until they either, are broken or break the aggregator. So, I will have my computer messed with, and orders getting wrong and wrong and wrong. They will dick with my order until either I absolutely and completely, force the seller to correct every mistake, by which time I've fallen out with every seller, but I will have had my way. I will make them bend to my will until they get it perfectly right, but then I won't have any friends because I'll have argued with them. I will have forced them to make it right, by which time they won't be my friend. They'll have all blocked me. So I'll have got everything that I want. I will have forced them to do the job perfect, right? But it wasn't them who were doing it wrong. It was a third party who were dicking with us both, right? Because they didn't want me to succeed. So they dick with me, and then I will force the other company to put it right until they don't want to deal with me anymore, right? Which is, it trains me to be a perfectionist and not accept anything being wrong, which is what the BBC do when they're making the programmes. If anyone doesn't make a BBC set properly, they're sacked. If anyone doesn't make a costume properly, they're sacked. If anyone doesn't edit the programme properly, they're sacked. If someone doesn't wipe Matt Radcliffe's bum for him, they're sacked. But you end up being a complete and total authoritarian then, like a regime. You're a military person, and everyone does as you command, but you don't have any friends, or you just let them dick with it, which means that they will, everything you order isn't right how you wanted it. It ends up being messed with, and nothing's correct, nothing's right. Or you have to keep ordering it again, and then you spend more money. You spend your money and waste your money, right? This is it. So, but at the end of the day, it's just dicking with you. So it's slowing you down, it's using up your money, and it's making you fall out with people, right? Where the devil's advocate in between gets the thrill out of ruining it and spoiling it. And also, if you're doing a campaign or a political campaign, you don't succeed. You lose, right? Which, but are these people any better than the government? Because this is what the government are doing with the taxes. They've put misinformation out on the government websites for tax. They've encouraged the big corporate industries to charge tax to Group 9 bodies that should be exempt. So no individuals ever flourish into a large charity or large political organisation because they're getting charged the tax money. And then, you should be clever enough to claim it back. Well, I have been claiming it to companies, and they've been saying that they're not going to take it off unless I give a company number. But you don't need a company number if you're a Group 9 body. Unless you're a big Group 9 body and you're registered. You don't have to be registered to be a Group 9 body. You only need to be a charity or a political cause with those aims, and not a big one. No one's registered for anything if they're doing it small, and then you've got all the rights on the computer now that they're doing the platforms and so forth. So, and then you've got this idiot popping up with black. I've got these popping up now. Black darts. Thing, which is a complete and total wind up, So, I mean, I really don't know what to do at the moment because, someone else is controlling my orders. Someone else is controlling the things that I have got. But it never used to happen. I know that it's been dictative because I've lived my whole life buying things and ordering things, and this didn't used to happen. These orders didn't go like this. I used to go in somewhere, ask for something, and I get it right. Now, if there were things that I couldn't do or couldn't get, it was usually because the services weren't available. Now, all the services are available. All of anything that you could want, you can order online, whether it's T-shirts, people want mugs printing, even getting, all the different industries were very hard to get into, and now available. But now when you're dealing with them, you've got this devil's advocate who's dicking with the orders, so it's not coming out right. So we've got this sort of, we don't know for sure who's doing it, and this is the thing. The problem is that it turns you into a cunt, basically. It's like a little cunt breeding fucking exercise. And now I know that, Steve Wright, apparently, they claim that he's just passed away. We don't know whether if he really has passed away or whether he's done a Princess Diana trick. Is this another BBC Panorama stunt, has Wright disappeared under plastic surgery and got a new life somewhere, or what? We don't know whether it's true or not, or whether it's some sort of stunt. But what I do know is that, people who work for the BBC, like Sarah Cox, they've all done it because they've used these tests before on them. When Sarah Cox first started on Radio 2, on Radio 1, they did this training procedure on her where, they get certain people on and try and take over the programme, and she's got to sort them out or she fails the test, and then you end up being a cunt. So, I know what they're doing, and all the problems in my life are because of the BBC, but then they're dicking with us because then they pop up these programmes which are claiming to help us, and they're throwing out innuendos and content which is, trying to connect with us and try and claim that, we know what's going on, with, the corrupt government and so forth. And then the government are claiming that they're our friends, that, they care about the public, they're bothered about our safety, yet they're lying to us about the petitions process, they're lying to us about the validity of public consultations, which are petitions, statements from the public, judgments, and then they're lying to us about what you can and can't object about on the council, what criteria you can and can't object about. When you can object about, you don't even need a reason to object. You can just object on your opinion, the opinion of a peer, which is your peer, and you can object. You have to have a reason why you object. So it really is at the moment the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's starting to look like, the government are trying not to look ugly. They're trying to look pretty, or we're the polite ones, we're the Irish government. These are a load of traditional Irish women, with normal clothes, like a librarian on television, speaking in Irish Parliament. But we're lying to you. We are defrauding the Irish people out of their vote on what the law should and shouldn't be, because we're lying about the legitimacy and validity of consultations, because it actually is a petition from the public because we asked for your opinion, and we can't actually take your rights away from you when you've entered judgment, when we asked you for your opinion. And it's in writing. That's what a statement is when you're asked for a statement in a lawful due process. Although we've diffused it by calling it a consultation, and then it'll put you all off having to collect your, 5% of the electorate to have a referendum, because we've duped you off with a diffused, disarmed consultation, which equates to a referendum, because we asked everyone. And then, when you're doing your petitions, just in case you get equal to 5% of the electorate, then we've already had a consultation. Well, come on then, Drakeford. Well, we've got 4 times more than, the 5% of the entire country of Wales. By the way, remove the 5% of that, which is English, leaves 95% of that still valid for Wales. But Drakeford steps down. Rather than doing the job that he's elected for, he steps down. So whether you've got a public consultation where they ask the public what their opinion is, and all those who can be bothered to respond, or who have an opinion on it, when 70% of them say, yeah, we're against it, then the government still do it. When you actually get the petition, which is 5%, so then you can officially have the official referendum, which essentially is the consultation, because they asked everyone, although they didn't ask everyone at a polling station. But, how far do you want to go to ask everyone and announce everyone that we're doing this? By the way, what's your opinion on it? We're being defrauded. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of pretty people who sound pleasant who are just criminals. Now, some of these people are retarded, like a lot of the Welsh women in the Welsh government. They're just retards. Some of them really don't believe in the rights, and they want to, hopefully like Rishi Sunak and Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, they want to somehow rewrite the law and rewrite the rights so that, it's a new world. But, well, you can't do that. That's why we've got a constitution until you change that, But they're hoping that they can, but they haven't, and they can't. It really is like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And at the moment, really, the BBC are looking like the ugly one. But we're the ones who have had the, when in the good, the bad, and the ugly, he takes his bullets out of his gun so he can't fire. Unfortunately, we are being treated like the ugly ones who have had the bullets taken out of our guns, because, what is the analogy of that? Well, the analogy of that is when we all put pen to paper and tell the government what we think, it actually doesn't seem to be counting on the decisions-making process. Like the jury casting a vote and it not counting. Yeah, it is supposed to count. Not only does it count, it is what you decide on when you choose to have one. When the government choose to hold a consultation, or when the public choose to petition freely at their own choice, that is having a jury. If you choose not to have a consultation, and if no one submits any petitions, then you don't have any public opinion because no one submitted one. So then the councillors can vote themselves. Now, people do object as well, and you've got the objections, right? Now, the problem is that it actually does count. And, we're being messed around at government level. And then we're being messed around at a personal level. There's a guy on Tucker Carlson who's an American guy, and he's very, very, very knowledgeable about all the process. He actually knows, he's actually cited persons, companies, organisations, and people in government exactly who are people who are manipulating the whole process, at least in the government side of it and the media side of it. But then there's the devil's advocate, the TV. Now, some of those people are opposed to the corrupt government, but they're messing around with us still. And when we get messed around with, when they're dicking with our Facebook groups or intervening, we don't know exactly who it is because they're doing it anonymously. And this is the whole thing behind Anonymous, you know. But yet Anonymous claim to be yet another party who aren't on the side of the government, or they're meant to be, you know, independent, although they're not, because they're made out of loads of people who, and every single individual in that group has their own opinion anyway, and God knows, you know, who's doing what in that. So we're actually being provoked, and what they're doing, basically the term devil. My phone's just vibrated then for no reason at all. We're being provoked, right? And it's the devil's advocate is the exact term which describes it and is used to refer to it. It means you've got anonymous, you've got an anonymous aggravator who gets two parties to argue between each other, right? By messing around. So, you know, one party might be doing something wrong, like overcharging someone, and the other party, if he wants one party to, you know, if he wants to try and stop one party overcharging, then, you know, he might dick with the orders to, you know, make them get a message, but to the detriment of the persons whose orders are getting wrong. Now, the person whose orders are getting wrong has to complain then. If they don't complain, they will successfully have been dicked with, and there will be a pushover, right? Now, all they can do is reorder and ask them to get it right, but then it's cost them money. Now, if they complain adamantly and get their order put right, then they're not out of pocket, but then the other person is. But then they end up falling out with them and they don't want to do business with them again. So you end up with no friends. You end up with no friends, but all your orders are correct. This is the basis of what the Christian church have for Jesus, for forgiveness. Because if you complain to every single person and don't forgive them and force them to put it right, you get your things put right, but the person doesn't want to deal with you again, right? So you end up not dealing with anyone. And this is why you have to forgive people, right? But you end up with, you know, the thing is, before all these idiots started dicking with us, I didn't have anything go wrong because I asked for things and people did things right. I never had people doing things wrong, really. At least when I actually did ask and did go somewhere. So someone is doing it online. It's a new thing. It's since, you know, probably since Anonymous turned up on the scene. But we weren't all really doing things that were that important back then. All the things we were doing were for our own life, our own affairs, our own little lives with our own little projects and our own little friends and our own little, you know, ideas. Now we're doing things for serious campaigns and matters of groups on Facebook that are affecting the government of the country. Here's some illegal road signage. It's just a project. I found all this is illegal. Put it right. Oh, we can't do that. Why? Because when we do that, we have to admit that we planned it, that it was corrupt, that we evaded it being resolved, that means police chiefs have to get prosecuted in a court of law for corruption and split up with their wives and go to prison, and councillors have to get prosecuted and go to prison, and political parties have to be in the news and be responsible and liable, and then people don't want to vote for them anymore, and then no one votes for that party. So in order to prevent Keir Starmer, the leader of Labour, and people like Boris Johnson from being liable to widespread defrauding the public, perverting the course of justice, treason, they have to completely and totally ignore it. And then they have to censor the platforms. We try to get them to put things right by legitimate process that they set out, petitioning Parliament. The committee are blocking them off. They don't want to put them live, the petitions. Drakeford doesn't want to give us the vote on it because we've been diffused of the vote. The vote has been disarmed, diffused. The pen in the consultation has been diffused. So when the 70% of people cast a vote, the bomb doesn't go off and stop the party because they have to, therefore, action the vote of the people. No, instead, the Irish government are choosing to be terrorists.